The desert wind howled, a relentless whisper against parched earth, carrying with it the silent echoes of a prophet's despair. Have you ever felt it? That chilling silence, when the heavens seem to close and your fervent prayers dissipate into an empty sky? When the very God you serve, the one who has moved mountains and parted seas in your life, suddenly goes silent. It's a profound, isolating experience, isn't it? A darkness that can swallow hope whole. If you've ever found yourself in that barren place, wondering where God has gone, then this story, the dramatic, raw, and deeply human journey of Elijah, is for you. Stay with us, open your heart, and let's uncover the hidden truths within the silence. Elijah, a name that reverberates through history like a thunderclap, was a man who knew the raw power of God. He stood before kings, defied falsos prophetas, and called down fire from heaven, a spectacle witnessed by thousands on Monte Carmelo. Imagine the scene: os profetas de Baal, frantic, desperate, cutting themselves, begging their deaf gods for a sign. And then Elijah, calm amidst the chaos, a quiet prayer and a consuming fire that devoured not just the sacrifice, but the wood, the stones, and even the dust. The people fell on their faces, crying, "O Señor, Ele é Deus! O Señor, Ele é Deus!" This was a man of undeniable faith, a giant among men, a vessel through whom divine power flowed effortlessly. Yet even for such a man, the desert awaited. The profound victory on Carmelo was immediately followed not by triumph, but by terror. Queen Jezebel, a woman steeped in idolatry and ruthless ambition, heard of the slaughter of her prophets. Her response, a chilling threat. "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them." A single sentence, a venomous promise, was enough to send the mighty Elijah, the man who had faced down 450 prophetas de Baal, fleeing for his life. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't a minor skirmish. This was a spiritual battle of epic proportions, a public vindication of the one true God. And yet the immediate aftermath wasn't celebration, but a desperate sprint into the wilderness. It's a paradox that resonates with many of us. We experience a spiritual high, a moment of profound connection, a powerful answered prayer, only to be met with an immediate crushing blow. O inimigo, it seems, never rests, especially after a great victory. Elijah ran, not just from Jezebel, but from something deeper, something that gnawed at his soul. He ran a day's journey into the deserto, a place of desolação e solidão. And there, beneath uma árvore de zimbro, he collapsed. "I have had enough, Lord," he prayed, a raw, unfiltered cry from the depths of his being. "Take my life, I am no better than my ancestors." He, the propheta who had stood so boldly, now wished for death. He was exhausted, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. He felt utterly alone, isolated and abandoned. This wasn't just physical fatigue, it was a soul weariness, a profound sense of burnout that can grip even the strongest among us. He believed he was the only one left, the sole defender of Deus, and the burden was too heavy to bear. This is where the silencio begins. Deus did not immediately send a fiery chariot, nor did Ele thunder from the heavens with words of comfort. Instead, Elijah slept. Anjo tocou Elijah, saying, "Levante-se e coma." There was pão assado em brasas quentes and jarro de água. He ate, drank, and lay down again. O anjo returned, "Levante-se e coma, for the journey is too much for you." And with the strength from that miraculous meal, Elijah traveled 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God. 40 days and 40 nights. A journey through the wilderness, much like the Israelites before him, a period of purification, of stripping away the old to make way for the new. And still Deus was silent, at least in the way Elijah expected. He arrived at Horeb and found a cave. He entered it and spent the night. And then The Lord's voice, not in a thunderclap, but a gentle question. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" It wasn't a rebuke, it was an invitation, a probing question designed to draw out the prophet's heart. Elijah poured out his soul. "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too." His pain was palpable, his sense of injustice overwhelming. He felt betrayed, abandoned, and utterly alone in his faithfulness. He had given everything, and this was his reward: persecution and isolation. And here, at Mount Horeb, the revelation unfolds, not in the way Elijah or perhaps any of us would expect. Deus commanded him, "Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Elijah obeyed, and then the spectacle began. First, a mighty wind, so powerful it tore mountains apart and shattered rocks. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake, a tremor that shook the very foundations of the earth. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire, a consuming blaze licking at the heavens. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a gentle whisper, a soft, still voice, a sound so subtle, so delicate, it could easily be missed amidst the clamor of the world. And when Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. This is the pivotal moment, the profound lesson hidden within O Silencio de Deus. Elijah, like many of us, expected Deus to show up in the dramatic, the spectacular, the overwhelming. He had seen Deus in fire on Carmelo, in drought, in rain. He expected the same grand display of power. But Deus, in sua infinita sabiduria, chose to reveal himself not in the storm, not in the quake, not in the fire, but in the whisper. This wasn't a sudden, jarring revelation. It was a gradual unfolding, a stripping away of the external to reveal the internal. It was a lesson in discerning God's presence, not just in the miraculous, but in the subtle, the quiet, the almost imperceptible. What does this mean for us when Deus goes silent in our lives? It means that sometimes the silencio isn't an absence to Deus, but a change in his method of communication. It means Ele might be inviting us to listen differently, to look beyond the obvious, to tune our spiritual ears to a frequency we haven't considered before. When we are in pain, in doubt, in rejection or suffering, we often crave a clear, undeniable sign, a booming voice, a miraculous intervention. But Deus, in sua infinita sabiduria, often uses these seasons of silencio to draw us deeper, to refine our faith, and to teach us a new way of hearing. Elijah's journey through the deserto was not just a flight from Jezebel, it was a journey into himself, a confrontation with his own fears, his own expectations, his own limited understanding de Deus. He had to be stripped of his self-reliance, his need for dramatic validation, even his zealousness, to truly hear the whisper. He had to understand that God's power wasn't solely in the spectacular, but also in the intimate, the personal, the quiet assurance that transcends external circumstances. O pão e a água brought by anjo were not just physical sustenance. They were a quiet, loving provision in his darkest hour, a testament to God's care, even when Ele seemed distant. O Silencio de Deus is rarely an indication of his absence. It is often an invitation to a deeper, more profound intimacy. It is a period of recalibration, a time when our faith is tested and refined, much like gold in a refiner's fire. It forces us to examine our motives, to question our assumptions, and to seek Deus not for what Ile can do for us, but for quem Ile é. It is in these moments of profound quiet that we learn to lean not on our understanding, but on His. We learn to trust that even when we don't hear Him, Ile está trabalhando. Even when we don't see Him, Ile está se movendo. After the whisper, Deus spoke again, repeating the same question. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And Elijah, still reeling from the events, gave the same answer. He hadn't fully grasped the lesson yet. It takes time for profound truths to sink in, especially when we're grappling with deep emotional wounds. But Deus didn't condemn him. Instead, Ele gave him a new mission, new instructions, and new companions. He was to anoint new kings and a new prophet, Elisha, who would become his successor. Deus also revealed that Ele had reserved 7,000 in Israel who had not bowed to Baal. Elijah was not alone. He was never alone. His perception of isolation was a lie whispered by despair. This is the profound truth that emerges from Elijah's despair. O silencio de Deus is not his abandonment. It is often a period of preparation, a time when Ele está forjando algo novo dentro de nós, preparing us for the next phase of our journey. It's a time to cultivate a deeper sense of trust, to learn to hear his voice not just in the thunder, but in the gentle whisper of our hearts. It is in these moments of profound quiet that we develop an unshakable faith, one that is not dependent on outward signs or immediate answers, but on the unwavering character de Deus himself. When you are in the deserto, when the silencio presses in, remember Elijah. Remember that even the mightiest propheta experienced profound despair and a season of divine quiet. Remember that Deus met him not in the dramatic, but in the gentle whisper. And remember that even in his deepest loneliness, Deus assured him he was not alone. There were thousands who remained faithful, hidden from his sight, just as there are countless others in the world, and perhaps even in your own life, who are walking a similar path, struggling with similar doubts, and seeking the same profound connection. So what do we do when Deus goes silent? We press in, we listen differently, we search for the whisper amidst the noise of our fears and anxieties. We trust that Ele está trabalhando, even when we cannot perceive it. We remember his faithfulness in the past. We lean on the community Ele has provided, even if it feels small. We allow the silencio to refine us, to strip away our expectations, and to open our hearts to a deeper, more intimate relationship with O Único que nos ama incondicionalmente. The journey of faith is not always a cacophony of miracles and booming voices. Sometimes it is a quiet pilgrimage through the wilderness, guided by an unseen hand, sustained by an invisible provision, and ultimately transformed by a gentle whisper. This whisper is not a sign of weakness, but a profound demonstration of God's intimate presence, a reminder that Ele está mais perto do que imaginamos, even in our darkest hours. Ele não é apenas o Deus do terremoto e do fogo. Ele é o Deus do sussurro suave, o único que fala diretamente às profundezas de nossas almas, se apenas aprendermos a realmente ouvir. If this message has resonated with you, if it has brought a glimmer of hope into a season of silencio, please consider subscribing to Eternal Connection with God. Join our community as we continue to explore the timeless truths of the Biblia, seeking to understand God's heart and his unwavering presence in our lives. Share this video with someone who might be walking through their own wilderness, someone who needs to hear that they are not alone, and that even in the silencio, Deus está lá, waiting to whisper his truth into their desperate heart. Let us together seek that gentle whisper, that profound connection, that eternal hope that transcends all earthly suffering. Your journey matters, your faith is precious, and Deus está falando even in the quietest moments.